Hey everyone, Alien Theory here, back with another video. Previously on the channel, I've talked about the Alien series on videocassette, the disadvantages that came with the pan and scan alterations of the original theatrical aspect ratios, and the warm and fuzzy nostalgia that still remained, nevertheless, with that format. Well, today we're going to party like it's 1999. During this time, a new home viewing format was sweeping the world that had some very clear benefits over VHS, and was getting a much better and wider response than the Laserdisc, which just didn't seem to inspire a universal change of formats. The digital video disc, the DVD format, was beginning to usher in a new digital age of home theater exhibition, and 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment was on the forefront of this revolution. I think Fox deserves a lot of credit for the way they embraced the format, and for making it unquestionable that the DVD was the superior way for audiences to enjoy movies at home. Within this era, Fox's contemporary hits and beloved classics were getting some very impressive releases, which had all the technical benefits that came with DVD, but were also packed with special features, providing hours upon hours of bonus content, and even animated menus that created a unique and immersive experience and reflected the tones of their respective films. And at this time, the stars were aligning, and it was just in time to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the original 1979 film. The perfect opportunity to introduce Alien and its sequels onto this exciting new format. With that came the Alien Legacy, a box set containing all 4 Alien films released at the time, and marking the series' first foray into DVD. It was released in June of 1999. It's impossible for me to talk about this set without reflecting on my own personal experiences with it. So picture, if you will, a young preteen Alien Theory coming home from school, hopping onto some good old dial-up internet, visiting the official Alien website, and obsessively looking over all the details of this new DVD set. This became a ritual, looking over and practically memorizing all the bells and whistles that came along with the Alien Legacy. I begged my parents to invest in a DVD player. I had all the talking points down, all the advantages that DVD had over videocassette, and worked out a payment plan to fund the transition with whatever money came my way. Eventually, the following year, we had a DVD player, and I finally got my hands on the Alien DVD box set. These are the first DVDs I've ever owned, and I still have the set to this day. It's a little roughed up, sure, but just looking at this thing fills me with an overwhelming sense of nostalgia. This was the Alien Legacy. This was the revolutionary box set that forever changed how I watched and enjoyed movies at home. It may not be a hugely elaborate set. It's a cardboard sleeve holding 4 individual DVD cases. It's fairly straightforward, certainly not as showy compared to other releases, such as the Quadrilogy set, released in 2003. Though that's a story for another day, but during this time, and the era of DVD in its infancy, a set like this was truly the holy grail to me. The design of the set is simple enough. There's a shiny, debossed image of the xenomorph on each side, and a listing of the films included on the rim. Each of these sets also came along with an exclusive collector's card. Each card included with each set was included at random, so personal experiences will vary in that respect. I still have mine with me. There's an image of the alien on the front, and on the back a small outline of the first film, its legacy, and an image of the original teaser poster. The DVDs included here are Alien, the 20th Anniversary Edition, Aliens Special Edition, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. As a pretty nice touch, each of the films includes a little booklet. Within, you'll find write-ups on the cast, overviews of the special features found on the DVD, and a listing of the scene selections. At the dawn of DVD, scene selection was a big deal. Say goodbye to the fast-forward button. You could jump directly to your favorite scenes in an instant with DVD. The booklet for the first film includes a letter from Ridley Scott, where he reflects on the film, its legacy, and his enthusiasm about this new home video format. This is something I'd like to share, so here's what Ridley Scott had to say to Alien fans opening up this set in 1999. I entered the world of Alien almost by accident, and although only a few science fiction films captured my interest to that date, most notably The Day the Earth Stood Still, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the then-new Star Wars, I was not looking to explore the genre. In 1977, I was preparing another project when I came across the comics and publications born out of the Metal Hurlant, heavy metal, magazines. In the same year, I was offered Alien, and I recognized the heavy metal influences that I could apply to the visual aspects of the film. I was equally impressed by the characters that made up the ill-fated Nostromo crew. And of course, eventually came the opportunity to work with H.R. Giger in creating the Alien itself. I have watched the Alien sequels of the past 20 years. Each film has its own unique identity, taking what we created in 1979, but finding a different direction each time out. When I completed the first Alien, I had no idea that there would be 3 sequels and an enthusiastic following 20 years later. The DVD release of Alien represents the most definitive home video version of the film to date. Presented for the first time in anamorphic widescreen from a high-definition master, I am thrilled that DVD is able to best translate my vision as a filmmaker to you at home. Signed, Ridley Scott. With it being the original film's special 20th anniversary, it may go without saying that the bulk of the effort in producing this set and the most enticing features came along with the DVD of 1979's Alien. In line with other high-profile releases, we get an animated menu for the film. The standard Fox Home Video logo glitches out, and the TV screen transforms into the Nostromo's mother computer right before our eyes. We're thrust into the midst of the Nostromo. We get all of the options displayed on sort of a hologram. Something like this really made DVD feel like this cutting-edge, exciting new technology, and there was certainly a sense of interactivity just by viewing the menu. We have the usual options such as play movie, scene selection, extra features, and language selection, but even just selecting an option will trigger an animation. Click on play and the camera will move through the hologram to a set of doors, which swipe open, zoom into the darkness, and then starts the movie. A pretty exciting way to start the experience. Pressing the return button on your remote doesn't just statically bring you back to the menu, but begins higher up into the ceiling, then moving back to the options. Each selection has its own little unique charm and its own animation. In choosing the scene selection option, you're drawn through a different set of doors, and the chapters appear before you, each as thumbnails with their own individual titles. Nothing all that new today, maybe even a little crude by today's standards, but this was absolutely mind-blowing in 1999, as were the special features. The menu for the supplemental material is a world within itself, presented as a list on yet another hologram. First listed is the commentary track by Ridley Scott. This has its own submenu, which goes to the extra length in outlining when and where this track was recorded. Even more interesting and unique is that the commentary track itself has its own scene selection, where you can peruse the topics that come up throughout. I've listened to a lot of DVD commentaries in my day, and I honestly can't think of another example of this. I think more DVD production should have followed this example. It also goes the extra mile with its deleted scene selection, also appearing as its own mini-menu. Each deleted scene includes a thumbnail, a description of the scene you're about to view, and in some cases even offers an explanation as to why it was removed from the final film. Maybe the only negative here is that there isn't a play all option, which would have been nice, but hardly ruins the experience. Here, of course, for the very first time on home video, fans of Alien could watch the much-talked-about cocoon sequence. And distinct from the other deleted scenes in this collection is the option to listen to Ridley Scott's commentary track on this one. There's also a selection of outtakes, shot but never used for the film. We get 2, the moment where Kane is waking up after hypersleep, and another much-talked-about scene, commonly referred to as the crab walk scene. Funnily enough, there is a play both outtakes option on this menu. Another attractive special feature on this release is the option to view the film with an isolated audio track that lets you listen to Jerry Goldsmith's musical score, presented for the first time in its unaltered form, including previously unreleased music. There's also an equally fascinating alternate music track featuring unused music and production audio reflecting music changes made in post-production and raw audio from the set, including alternate dialogue. I absolutely love this feature, and again, I'm hard-pressed to think of any other films that offer this kind of alternate audio on their DVD releases. Maybe it just didn't catch on as a trend. But what definitely did catch on as a trend when it came to DVD menus was the concept of Easter eggs, little hidden bonuses within the disc that you could find if you explored enough. Alien's 20th anniversary DVD contains one of the first instances of DVD Easter eggs that I can recall. On the extra features menu, you'll notice there's an acid hole burned in the flooring, and if you keep scrolling down the menu, you can highlight it. Click on it, and that brings you to a little sub-menu acting as an eyes-only transmission between Ash and the Weyland-Yutani Bioweapons Division, where you can read Ash's findings on the alien life cycle. This entire write-up is through Ash's point of view and suggests that he was able to relay all of this information to the company during unseen events that take place in the film. The write-up ends as Ash is about to offer some theories on how the xenomorph reproduces, but then there's a notification that Ripley has logged onto the mother system and is accessing Special Order 937, as she does in the film. So here we have not only one of the early examples of a DVD Easter egg, but one that, in a small way, adds a plot point to the movie. How cool is that? Rounding off the special features, we have some of the more usual fare that has made its way to DVD releases. Trailers, TV spots, image galleries, all things that maybe we take for granted today since we can access these kinds of things with lightning speed through a simple Google search. But to have them permanently housed on a disc, especially during a time when a download of a mere few megabytes could potentially take hours, this was highly appreciated. You could even download a special Alien screensaver. Just make sure you have a DVD-ROM drive and are running on Windows 95, 98, or Macintosh. This was a loaded DVD release for the time, with all the extra features an Alien fan could hope for, along with the best possible presentation of the film itself for home video exhibition. This was a truly special release for a truly special film, celebrating a truly special 20th anniversary milestone. This was something you could hold up in 1999 and confidently say, DVD is the way to go. This format is the future. Not entirely hogging the 20th anniversary spotlight, the sequel's release is impressive as well, though not nearly as filled to the brim with extras as the first. But it was especially exciting for me at the time to be able to view the special edition of Aliens, a version of the film that was out of circulation for nearly a decade prior. Now, for this 20th anniversary set, Aliens Special Edition was once again widely available. In fact, the special edition was the only version released on DVD, and the theatrical cut wouldn't be available on the format until the quadrilogy set a few years later. Like with Alien, we open with a unique DVD menu. This time around, it reflects the monitors displaying the Marine headcams as they make their way through the corridors of the colony. In this case, you can see the point of view belongs to Aponte. A very nicely done menu, complete with a little motion tracker in the corner, and this menu has its own unique triggers depending on your selection as well. Select play, and you hear the tracker go off and the sounds of an alien screeching. The camera turns and is then cut off to black, and the movie starts. By clicking on scene selections, the HUD changes to Vasquez's point of view, moves towards the med lab, and instead of finding facehuggers in the stasis tubes, you see thumbnails for the scene selections. I think that's great. By selecting extra features, the POV changes to Hicks, and we're brought into the alien hive itself, seeing all of the eggs, and one that opens up revealing the menu title. Again, not hugely packed, but there's a good interview with James Cameron, originally filmed in 1986, where he discusses his approach to writing and directing Aliens. It's about 12 minutes long, not too shabby. There's also a decent selection of behind-the-scenes footage. Much like with the Alien Deleted Scenes menu, each video has its own thumbnail, explanation, and there's unfortunately no option to view all at once. But these are fun and illuminating glimpses into the making of the film. I especially like the testing for the Queen puppet. It's almost like a rough sketch that came to life and gives you an idea of all the planning that went into creating this hugely elaborate effect that was featured in the final film. There's a theatrical trailers option, which simply includes trailers for all 4 movies. And of course, there's the tried and true photo gallery feature as well. There is actually a little Easter egg to be found here too, by highlighting the lifelines on the display in the special features menu. However, it just brings you to the DVD credits. Not especially exciting. But overall, the special features here are decent. The menus are great. I love how they're able to replicate the feel of the film and incorporate the imagery of these menus in a fun way, a uniquely DVD way, so it still definitely made that jump to the format worth it for this kind of stuff. Once we get to Alien 3, however, we can see a little bit of a step down from the royal treatment of the menus presented in the first 2. There's nothing all too unique to see here. The same navigation options against an abstract background. To its credit, it for sure gives off some Fury 161 vibes. It remains a menu consistent with the tone of the film, but nothing all that exciting. No more unique concepts related to the film, no more special animations that play when you make a selection. What you see is what you get. The scene selections are pretty standard, there's no gimmick for them this time around, and the special features are fairly bare. Although, at the time, I was glad to get a look at the Making of Alien 3 featurette. I never had that double VHS pack that came with it as a bonus, so through DVD, it was my first time viewing it. While it's hardly in-depth and doesn't get the candid interviews that give an insight to the problematic production, as we'd see later on the quadrilogy set in the years to follow, it's a decent making-of. It's basically a promotional video hyping up the film, but there's a good retrospective on the first two films and some good behind-the-scenes footage. So if you happen to miss your opportunity to check it out on VHS in 1992, here it is on DVD in 1999 on the Special Features menu. There's also the same selection of trailers that were available on the Aliens DVD, but this time there's a selection to view an interactive game trailer. It's the trailer for the Alien Resurrection game that wasn't quite made, or at least was eventually made but didn't appear at all as it does in this trailer. I suppose that's a story for another day, too. It's bare bones by way of extras, but nonetheless, great to have the movie on DVD, great to have the optimum picture and sound that the format was able to offer. The disc for Alien Resurrection is the same kind of deal, nothing spectacular. Some condensation, some of the cloning imagery from the opening credits of the film to the side. Better than just a stagnant menu, I guess. It's also limited on the special features side. We get the trailers as before, and we get a promotional featurette. It's nothing all that amazing. It's about 3 minutes. I remember this used to play at the beginning of the widescreen VHS releases of the film, so in many ways it's kind of like an enhanced trailer. It's an advertisement. So arguably at the end of it all, Alien Resurrection has the least to offer by way of special features of the whole set. Maybe that was a missed opportunity. I could see why Alien, of course, would get all the best bells and whistles for its anniversary, but Alien Resurrection was the newest film. It was barely 2 years old by the time this set came out. You'd think they'd want to play up the new film with the new format just a little bit more. But if it was a matter of budget and putting together the set, then rightly I think the money and effort went to the right place to the first film in honor of the 20-year legacy. One point of mild controversy is that the documentary produced for this anniversary, The Alien Legacy, was originally intended to be included as a bonus disc added to the set, but was ultimately left out. It's a feature-length documentary running just over an hour and includes lots of behind-the-scenes footage and was produced specifically to mark the 20th anniversary. Due to production delays, it couldn't be incorporated into the DVD set for the intended release date, so Fox made the decision to go ahead and release the DVD collection without this documentary. Oddly enough, though, a VHS version of the Alien Legacy set was also produced, and it did, in fact, include a bonus copy of the documentary on tape, so score one for 1999 VHS. Since then, fortunately, it's been available on all other releases of Alien collections as a special feature. But for all of the areas that could be seen as a negative, the collection still triumphs. It's an amazing set, especially for the time. And once again, Fox Home Video deserves a lot of credit for really being on the forefront and really embracing the DVD format, where at the time, maybe other studios may have taken beloved titles, slapped them on DVD, added a trailer for the special feature, and called it a day. Fox did their properties justice in the home video market. And as DVD took over completely, they even outdid themselves by releasing the quadrilogy set, with even more special features produced exclusively for the release, and new alternate cuts of each film, and migrating them all, and including even more when Blu-ray came around. Of course, we've seen better transfers since then. They've never looked or sounded better with the advent of high-definition presentation, but for me, there'll never be an experience quite as jarring as seeing these movies on DVD for the first time. I had seen them plenty of times on VHS prior, even the THX remastered widescreen releases, but seeing them on DVD was mind-blowing. There was no comparison. DVD was the future. And that was over 20 years ago now. Presently, we're in the midst of another digital revolution. These days, physical media just isn't as in demand as it used to be, and now audiences at home are gravitating more towards streaming and digital copies. That's just how it is, and I'm fine in embracing that, but there was something special about the days where you could purchase a physical set of movies that was caringly put together. Something special, something you'd be proud to display on the shelf and add it to your collection. 20 years is one thing, but even just compare the 5 years between the 35th anniversary Blu-ray release of Alien, which is a nicely put together set with a lot of great inserts and art, and then look at the 40th anniversary 4K release, which is a slipcover and a plastic case. It's not necessarily that Alien didn't deserve a spectacular release for its 40th anniversary, but unfortunately the days of spiffy, collectible physical media movie collections seem to be out of demand. I'll always cherish the 20th anniversary DVD collection, though. It was something special, it was a game changer, and it will always have a place in my heart as an Alien fan. If you have memories of this set, or any of the other Alien sets, I'd love to hear about it. Comment below, let me know if you also had an eye-opening DVD experience, and share your memories. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and you can also subscribe for all the latest videos from the channel. My very, very special thanks goes out to WEYLAND YUTANI executives, EmYarUk, Mark Fox, and in the Ellen Ripley tier of excellence, Lady Anne. My thanks also goes out to the Hive Queens, Ronni, Jensen, Alyssane, and Jackson roesch, all part of the Patreon Hive. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.